I don't want you coming here and wasting all my time. 'Cause when you're standing, you're so near, I kinda lose my mind. It's not the perfume that you wear, it's not the ribbons in your hair, and so on. Now this should ring a bell. Just the intro alone there. This is of course just when I needed, or just what I needed, I'm sorry, by the Cars back in the 70s, I think. Look it up, I'll look it up. Anyway, so we take a look at this great song and kinda as in how to just approach it acoustically. I mean, if it's just you and one guitar and your voice, you gotta be a little bit in the middle to make it work, because they of course have several guitars and all that playing different parts and such. When I looked up Ric Ocasek, who wrote the song actually, playing it by himself, he would indeed just use those chords, full chords by the way, just strum his way through it and so on. So you can kind of be a little bit in the middle, I guess. He kept it pretty simplified, I would say. He has every right to, he wrote it, don't get me wrong. But when you listen to the original, it does have a little bit more. And I'll explain in a sec. So the chords are in the key of E, with one out of the key. All bar chords actually, at least, well, yeah. All bar chords. So this is E major with an A shape, chord 1 to 5, which is B major with an E shape, to C sharp minor with an E minor shape on the 9th fret, and down to a G sharp, which is not in the key. So from 1 to 4 to 5, and then in this case, out of the key, could, you know, if it was like a minor chord, it would be chord 3. And then at one point it does go up a half step to A major, which would be chord 4. And I think we got all the chords already there. However, so that's it for that. Yes, the strumming, it is kind of, you know, not full on, but straightforward. That's what I wanted to say. You know, it's this double time speed of 16, so all your downstrokes are like 8 notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. But yes, when you play by yourself, you might wanna, you know, especially in the, what is it, in the choruses and such, you know, go for fuller strums and so on. You can look up Rick playing it for that matter. And then of course you do need full bar chords, and you can't get away with only power chords. You could, if you would, you know, stick to those. You can do whatever you like. Anyways, so 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. You know, this is with, if you would go for fuller on strumming and full chords, that is. The challenge though is definitely, and we talk about it elaborately, is the chorus, because the chord changes in there are very much syncopated, as in they appear at the ends of the beats, except for E major. So if you think about it, it would be, for example, well, not for example, that's how the chorus goes. Chords are like, there are like 2 in a measure, or even sometimes 3, and it is indeed, as I said, at the end of the beat. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. Where was I? Let me do it again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and, yes, like that, and 3 and 4 and so on. So this really calls for the ability to be able to count it. If syncopation is like a little bit of a challenge rhythmically, you know, timing wise for you, then you have to count, because it'll tell you when to move or when to play the next chord. That's why take it slow and count it out as I was just doing. Of course, make sure which ends of the beats. So from E to B, that would have been the end of B2, and the end of beat 4, that's already when you move to A. Then the end of B2, you move to C sharp minor, and then the end of B3, you move to B. And then E major always comes in on beat 1. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I mean, and 1 and 2. Yes, there is one time signature change, A for 2 beats, and then 2 whole measures of C sharp minor, which you need to start with 1 and not 3 and 4. I almost wanted to because, well, oh well. Anyway, so those are the maybe challenging things which appeared when playing this song. I'll talk you through it, like I said, elaborately, because I think it is very important that you got that down and that you keep your hand moving. If you play the whole song with just downstrokes, that is totally fine. Just get the rhythm right and get the timing right and all that. Okay. I discussed everything that I talked about in the lesson. Of course, the chords, which are just a couple if you think about it. Of course, the strumming, which could be very straightforward, and I do point out things that Ric Ocasek does or things that happen on the album and all that, and then of course all those syncopated chord changes. I did think about the fact if you would want to have a little bit of an easier approach, you could, and that is because those are all like power chords or bar chords. You can, of course, play it with open chords there too. So the most obvious one, I would say, would be the key of C. Then you only would have like one bar chord, which would be F. If you do D, then you have B minor and F sharp minor, so then you have 2. And actually, because you're playing those bar chords and power chords up the neck, the sound isn't really too much. I mean, the bass notes are all actually the same, but you're playing like C major with a third in the bass, and the same for G, and well, A minor is actually the same, and F actually there too, and E actually as well. So that's, you know, it's very close. But of course, so if you want to do the intro, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and you know, you gotta be, oh yeah, dampening the strings. That's definitely a technique or a skill which you want to incorporate there too. Okay, I have already talked longer than I anticipated or wanted to. All the other stuff, or everything that I mentioned, is in the lesson, and feel free to check it out. We also have By the Cars Drive. Yes, of course we have. So you might as well look that one up too. Okay, you can find it at totalguitars.com.